Xbox, the gaming company that brought us unforgettable franchises like Halo, Gears of War, and Forza. The gaming company that revolutionized online multiplayer. Xbox, who at one point seemed to be very stiff competition for PlayStation and Nintendo, is dead. Or at least it feels like it will be soon. With major exclusives losing impact, beloved studios being shut down, and a growing identity crisis surrounding its place in the gaming world, Xbox no longer feels like the boundary-pushing brand it once was. Going from what felt like a giant leap in gaming with the 360 to where we are today certainly makes it feel like Xbox's end is coming soon. Hi, I'm Matt. I like to talk about video games, pop culture, and pretty much anything else that piques my interest. I've been a fan of Xbox since the OG in the early 2000s, and have played on each console generation after generation. So saying that Xbox may be reaching the end of its road isn't something that I take pleasure in. For a company that will soon be celebrating its 25th anniversary, a lot of Xbox's recent decisions have been pretty confusing, to say the least. Gone are the days of releasing groundbreaking first-party exclusives. Gone are the days of clear, gamer-friendly pricing without worrying about subscription tiers. Taking a look at where Xbox all began, it's baffling to see how different it seems today. Released in 2001, the original Xbox was touted as representing a new generation of gaming, and about building a community of gamers. But now, that community is dwindling, and the writing is on the wall that Xbox's new generation could be its last. So today, I want to talk about what exactly went wrong with Xbox, and ask the question, is Xbox dead? How did we go from power to the players to where we are today? Is there any way to course correct and fix this? Or is Xbox just digging its own grave? In order to really get into all of this, we need to take a look at what the last few years for Xbox have looked like. Now, I've spoken a lot about this in another video, where we talked about the current state of gaming in 2025 as a whole. You can watch that video here. But to summarize, I think a lot of what went wrong with Xbox started earlier than the current generation of gaming. Instead, it started with the Xbox One. Xbox's poor decisions at the time, such as requiring users to always be connected to the internet, restrictions on used games, and focusing more on making the Xbox One an entertainment box over a traditional console, really impacted how consumers viewed the Xbox brand. This left Xbox constantly trying to play catch-up for the entire generation, with the PlayStation 4 outselling the Xbox One by a large margin. Xbox really tried to fix a lot of the complaints that fans had, going back on their announcement of always needing to be connected to the internet, among others, but the damage was done. On top of that, the PlayStation brand was doing just fine this generation. Releasing games like God of War, The Last of Us Part 2, Spider-Man, and Ghost of Tsushima, Sony just had the better exclusives, full of depth in their gameplay, as well as better storytelling. Xbox tried to compete with this as well, releasing games like Halo 5 Guardians, Gears 5, and Forza Horizon 4, among others, but these titles just didn't have the same impact. Halo 5, while it overall got decent reviews, left fans very mixed with its campaign. The same can be said for Gears 5. And with Xbox often leaving large gaps in its release schedule, many buyers just felt like there wasn't enough exclusive titles to make the consoles seem worth it. So people turned to PlayStation instead. And now, with the Series X and S, the complaints are very much the same. Xbox had no exclusives at the start of the current generation. No Forza, no Gears of War, and no Halo, which sounds crazy to say. Now, Halo Infinite was supposed to launch with the consoles, but after getting a lot of poor reception as its release date got closer, it was delayed. With nothing left to fill that gap, Xbox had nothing to entice its already low fan base to buy a Series X over a PS5. And the further into the generation we've gotten, it's become very clear that nothing has changed. Xbox tried cranking out some exclusive titles, things like Starfield, Redfall, Hi-Fi Rush, and more. But again, The damage was already done. Starfield failed to impress. Redfall got scathing reviews, and Hi-Fi Rush, while getting a great reception, apparently failed to reach the numbers Microsoft was hoping for, because the studio who made the game was completely shut down. Microsoft did, however, have one ace up their sleeve: Xbox Gamepass. Launched during the previous generation, it allowed players to pay a monthly fee to gain access to hundreds of games to play without ever even needing to purchase the games. It was received well, and was probably the saving grace of the Xbox One generation. But what was once a good thing soon became worse. Xbox began adding tiers to the subscription, and raised prices on top of that, again and again and again, to where we are today at a whopping $30 a month. Look, I get it. Game Pass has grown a lot over the years. With over 500 games to choose from, prices were going to increase. It wasn't an if, it was a when. But to pay $30 a month for a bunch of games you'll likely never touch, to pay $360 a year for games you don't actually own, it's just not worth that price tag. It's money hungry, it's greedy, and it's Xbox starting to show its true colors. And this isn't the only area we've begun to see this trend. Xbox has been slowly raising prices in other places as well. At the beginning of this generation, AAA games were costing players around $70, which was already $10 more than what fans have been paying for the last 10 years or so. Now, to be fair, this wasn't necessarily an Xbox decision. It's just the way that the market was going for years. Games cost a lot of money to make, so naturally, game prices will increase. But in 2025, another certain gaming company decided to raise prices even more, up to $80. Microsoft saw that and went, yeah, we can do that too. Xbox announced that they too would be releasing games at the $80 price point due to changing market conditions, starting with The Outer Worlds 2. And fans were not happy about it. They were mad, as they should be, because this would apply to every Xbox release from Call of Duty to some future Halo game. Well, Xbox heard fans and walked back on this price change. For now, it seems likely that eventually we'll see that price jump again, whether that be due to market conditions or otherwise, and players will just have to suck it up and get used to it, or choose not to buy games from Xbox. I think this $80 game walkback is a temporary setback for Microsoft's plans to increase game revenue, all at the expense of the fans who carried them for so many years. And while we're talking about these changing market conditions, we should talk about the overall cost for these consoles, because those saw a price increase as well. When the Series X and S launched in 2020, they each had a pretty competitive cost of entry. The Series S, a digital-only console, launched at $300, while the Series X, which featured a disc drive and was an overall more powerful console, was $500, the same price as a PS5. But the further into the generation we got, the more the costs went up due to these market conditions. Now, I'm sure that Xbox was in some ways impacted by tariffs and whatever else they want to blame it on. But Microsoft could easily eat those costs and be just fine. This is, in my eyes, just another example of Xbox being greedy, because now a Series S costs $400 and a Series X is $650. An absolutely insane price jump. Usually prices go down the further you get into a generation, not up, and this is by such a significant amount. The consoles, which saw these price increases in May of this year, had sold 33.12 million consoles globally at that point. Now, that's not a small number to be fair, but compare that to the 75 million units that the PlayStation 5 had sold, and yeah, it's easy to see that the Series X and S aren't exactly seen as a wild success. On top of that, of the 75 million units that Sony had sold, 23 million were in the United States alone, only 10 million shy of Xbox's global sales. All of these sales are from before the price increases for these consoles. But how have things held up since then? Well, PlayStation was able to sell around 4.1 million units since May of 2025, bringing them to around 80 million sales since launch. But Xbox, they were only able to sell 317,000 units in the same amount of time. The Xbox Series consoles already had low sales, but the price increases that they keep doing are really just the nail in the coffin as far as sales go. So whether it's market conditions or not, these price changes that Xbox and Microsoft keep pushing for have really just been them shooting themselves in the foot. I'm going to pause on talking about pricing for a moment because it's part of a larger conversation that I want to have later. Instead, let's talk about Xbox's games themselves. As I said earlier, Xbox has seemingly been struggling to have consistent output of game titles throughout this generation. It had a rocky start with Halo Infinite, and it honestly didn't feel like Xbox's generation really started until around 2023, 3 years after the console came out. But they've had some really solid releases. Like I said earlier, Hi-Fi Rush was received well, as were games such as Forza Motorsports, Hellblade 2, and Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. Xbox also relied a lot on long-running games such as Sea of Thieves and Grounded. So yeah, Xbox had some minor success around this time, but it wasn't enough. Even though they started to finally have games that people were enjoying, there simply weren't enough sales to support it. Nobody was buying Xbox consoles. Everyone wanted a PlayStation instead. This left Xbox in a tough spot. They had the games, but no sales to back it up, which means, of course, no revenue. So Xbox had to do the unthinkable, something that 10 years prior would have been completely out of the question. They began releasing Xbox first-party games on PlayStation, starting with Sea of Thieves, Grounded, Pentiment, and Hi-Fi Rush in 2024. Now, most Xbox games had been getting releases on PC for years at this point, but not a ton of harm there since Microsoft owns both Windows and Xbox. But this was something completely different. This was Xbox releasing a game on its direct competitor's console. This was a sign of how poor things were going for Xbox, and should have been a sign of defeat. But Xbox insisted that these 4 specific games would be the only releases for the PlayStation consoles. And the games must have been a success because in the year that has followed, we've seen multiple other games get ported to the PlayStation 5. Forza Horizon 5, Gears of War Reloaded, Hellblade 2, and Indiana Jones, just to name a few. And we now know of arguably the biggest title that will soon be coming to PlayStation, Halo. That's right, the franchise that started with the original Xbox's big exclusive title is making its way to another console for the first time ever, with Halo Campaign Evolved. I've seen a lot of Xbox hardcore fans try to make some kind of justification for this, saying that this is a smaller Halo release, just a remaster of a campaign with no multiplayer. So this is just to entice players to buy an Xbox and play the next big Halo game when it comes out someday in the future. And to that I say, no, that is absolutely not what's happening here. Master Chief is Xbox's mascot. I mean, he might as well be Xbox's Mario. So seeing him on a PlayStation should be as clear of a message as ever, that Xbox no longer cares about first-party exclusives. Hell, Xbox themselves have been saying the same thing, with Phil Spencer saying in an interview with Bloomberg that Xbox will continue to release games on other consoles. He's also said in other interviews that building great games doesn't change console sales, and he said, and I quote, "We're not in the business of out-consoling Sony or Nintendo. There's not a win or a solution for us." And I honestly think that that last quote in particular is just the damnedest evidence that Xbox has given up on first-party exclusives. The games that were staples for them, Forza, Gears of War, and now Halo, are no longer enough for people to buy an Xbox. And Xbox tried buying up studios. They bought Bethesda, they bought Activision, but company names alone aren't enough to boost sales anymore. So rather than spend more money to invest in these games or invest in new, fresh IPs, Xbox just gave up. They threw in the towel. The console war is over. Xbox raised their white flag. Now, there's an argument that could be made that this allows Xbox's games to be more accessible than ever. That all of these shifts away from exclusive games means more people can be introduced to some of these iconic characters and franchises. And this is an argument that Xbox has really been pushing themselves, saying that this new release strategy is giving users more choice in where they want to play these titles. And sure, at face value, this is true. There's no need to go buy an Xbox to play Halo when you could just play it on your PC or on your PS5. But I don't necessarily think that that's the real reason that Xbox is doing this. If Xbox console sales were as high as the PS5, I don't think we'd be seeing this move, because having exclusives could just be the right push for Xbox to overtake PlayStation, but this just isn't the case. Xbox isn't making this decision to make better experiences for users or to give them any kind of choice. They're doing this because it's the only option that they have left. So factor in everything that we've talked about so far, and it's easy to see why there's a lot of uneasiness and not a lot of confidence in Xbox's future. Seemingly no exclusive titles and low sales have contributed to a lot of people losing confidence in the Xbox brand. And realistically, Xbox can try to pin it on PlayStation or Nintendo or any other gaming company, but it's really just Xbox's fault that they're in this situation. Mix this in with Xbox's recent "this is an Xbox" marketing, and even more people are left with a bad taste in their mouths. Xbox is now trying to present themselves as this company that can let you play anywhere, rather than as a dedicated console. Again, I understand that Xbox is trying to argue that they are in it for all gamers, not just the gamers who have been paying for their consoles. But it really just reminds me of what Xbox tried to do with the Xbox One. Rather than focus on making a great game console, they focused on making it an okay multimedia device. Now, with their primary focuses being on Gamepass and Xbox Cloud streaming, it's just left the hardcore fans feeling alienated. If everything is an Xbox, then nothing is. These trust issues don't just come down to fans and gamers, but retailers as well. Stores like Walmart and Target have been slowly making their Xbox section smaller and smaller, if not completely removing it already. Xbox denied that their partnerships with these stores are in jeopardy, but just taking a walk around my local Walmart shows that Xbox just doesn't have the reach and sales that it used to. In addition, Costco just flat out announced that they were completely removing Xbox products from their website due to business decisions, which no doubt come from the price increases we saw this year. So with all of these retailers pulling Xbox from their shelves and gamers already not buying a lot of Xbox titles, what does this mean for Xbox's next generation of consoles? Well, it may not be happening at all. At the beginning of the month, we began hearing rumors that Xbox may have internally canceled their next generation console. This is apparently due to a shift towards software and cloud-based gaming instead of consoles. With the decisions that Xbox have already made and their current push for cloud gaming and Game Pass, these new plans would fall right in line with Xbox's strategy as of late. But Xbox was quick to deny these rumors, stating, "We are actively investing in our future first-party consoles and devices designed, engineered, and built by Xbox." Alright, good. So everyone can rest easy knowing that Xbox shut down this rumor, right? I don't think so. Think back to when Xbox first announced some of its games coming to PlayStation. We were told that these were the only ones that would come to the PlayStation. It was just a test. Yet, here we are, with Xbox releasing multiple games on the PS5, including the biggest, most well-known franchise, Halo. So I find it hard to take Phil Spencer or anyone else at Xbox at their word when they've already gone back on it so many times. Now, Xbox did announce a multi-year partnership with AMD to co-engineer gaming silicone across a portfolio of devices, including a next-generation console, handhelds, and cloud gaming. And rumors recently began circulating that this next generation of Xbox will essentially be a PC for your TV, allowing you to not only play Xbox titles, but also games from other launchers, such as Battle.net, Epic Games Launcher, and even Steam, which technically means you'll be able to play some PlayStation games on your Xbox. What a wild world we're living in. Sounds great for the consumer, right? Actually, yeah, it does. The idea of being able to play any game you own from any storefront is actually an awesome idea, but it sounds like that will be coming at a very high cost. If rumors are to be believed, this next generation Xbox could cost anywhere from $800 to $1,200. And this is a rumor that I 100% believe. Xbox recently released two handheld consoles called the Xbox ROG Ally and Ally X. And these things are not cheap, costing $600 and $1,000 respectively. Now, PC handhelds have never been particularly cheap, to be fair, but $1,000 is such a high price, and it adds a lot of credibility to the idea that a next generation console would be a high price as well. Add Game Pass or game prices on top of that, and it really seems like Xbox may be outpricing a lot of its fan base. Now, the rumor did also say that multiplayer gaming would be free on this console. And yeah, I should hope so, considering that this may be a $1,000 console, and multiplayer gaming on PC is already free. So this doesn't exactly seem like Xbox doing gamers a favor. Instead, it's just them trying to convince players that the high price tag of this next generation console will be worth it. All of this leads to the question that I asked at the beginning of this video. Is Xbox dead? And the answer, at least my answer, is yes, but also no. At the very least, I think that in a few years, the Xbox brand that we grew up with and have known for so long will be dead. I think that when that next generation console comes out, it will be much different from anything that we've seen out of Xbox before. Most games, if not all of them, will be released on any platform possible, whether that be day and date or a few months after the launch on Xbox. I think that physical media will be completely dead. I mean, it's basically already dead in the current generation, but I think it will most certainly be dead in the next generation. And all of those physical games that you've been collecting since the OG Xbox won't be compatible. I think Xbox will go all in on digital and cloud gaming, for better or worse, because that's basically what gaming is already like on PC. And just my own personal input and theory, I think this next generation of Xbox consoles could be upgradable. Instead of waiting for a new, more powerful console to release down the road, I wouldn't be surprised if this next generation Xbox allows for parts to be added and upgraded as needed, similar to a PC. It would be easy for Xbox to just require players to buy the next big thing every time games start to need more power to take advantage of better graphics. But I think it would be even easier for Xbox and AMD to allow these parts to be switched out someday down the road. Because in the end, if Xbox fails to gain sales in this next generation, this could be their failsafe, their break glass in case of emergency. If the money just isn't there to make it worthwhile to make another console down the road, maybe it will be there to just have players who want to stick with the Xbox brand and PC upgrade everything on their own, or purchase parts from Microsoft, or even from AMD. So no, I don't think that Xbox is dead yet, but I do think that they're on life support. I think whatever happens in the next few years will be critical on if Xbox as a whole continues. And that's kind of a scary thought. I was too young to really understand the impact that came from Sega going third party in the early 2000s. And I never really thought that I'd be seeing Xbox, this giant of a gaming company, potentially suffer the same fate. Make no mistake, Microsoft will be just fine regardless of how Xbox does in the future. If it does great, then they get more money. If it flops, then they just turn to being a third-party publisher. But knowing how Microsoft and Xbox have been, this will almost certainly lead to layoffs and studio closures. And in this scenario, I don't think any studio is safe. Not Bethesda, not Activision, nobody. Any gaming studio will have a chance to do well. But if they don't, any studio will also have a constant looming threat of being shut down. All of this just seems so difficult to wrap my head around. We're talking about Xbox, the gaming company owned by one of the biggest businesses in the world. The company who started the 7th generation of gaming and dominated over PlayStation for the majority of it. There was a time when Xbox seemed too big to fail. But now, I can't shake the feeling that we are witnessing the slow but inevitable death of a beloved staple of gaming. But those are just some of my thoughts. Tell me, how do you feel about Xbox's future in gaming? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear from you. If you like this video, please give it a like, and be sure to follow me on all these social media platforms. But whatever you do, I just want to thank you for watching this video. I'm sure that we will have plenty more to say about Xbox's future generation of gaming the closer that we get to it. So be sure to hit that subscribe button and notification bell to keep up to date on all of my latest videos. Really quick, I just want to say thank you so much for your support on my last couple videos. The reception has been just absolutely incredible, and I've been reading every comment. I've been appreciating every like, every subscription. I'm genuinely blown away. And I just want you to all know that I am so incredibly thankful for all of your support. It means the world to me, and I'm going to try my best to continue making great videos for all of you. But that's the end of this one. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.